Have you ever noticed that the clearer your vision becomes, the lonelier the road feels? That the more awake you are to the world around you, its patterns, illusions, its noise and silence, the more disconnected you feel from the people in it. You're not imagining things. And no, you're not broken. This quiet detachment, this gentle sadness that follows clarity, it has a long history, and it's shared by thinkers, artists, mystics, and wanderers across centuries. The loneliness of seeing clearly isn't a flaw in the system. It's the cost of perception, the side effect of waking up. It starts innocently enough. You begin to question the rules, why we do what we do, why people chase things that don't seem to matter. You start to wonder, is this really how we were meant to live? At first, you think everyone must feel this, that this discontent is shared. But the more you talk, the more you realize most don't want to ask those questions. They prefer the script. They're comfortable with the noise. So you grow quieter, more observant. You stop trying to wake people up, not because you're bitter, but because you understand they're not ready. And that's okay. But understanding this doesn't always make it easier, because once you start seeing through the illusion, you can't unsee it. Once you step outside the matrix, you can't go back. The conversations that once filled your days now feel hollow. The small talk, the gossip, the mindless repetition of opinion as fact. It drains you. It doesn't stimulate. It doesn't nourish. And so, little by little, you drift. Not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. This is what the philosopher Krishnamurti meant when he said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society, because clarity often means discomfort. It means stepping out of the warmth of collective delusion into the cold air of awareness. And that air, it's thin. Few breathe it. But why is this path so isolating? To answer that, we need to look inward at how the mind resists what it fears. And few things are more frightening than change. People cling to their beliefs not because they're true, but because they're familiar. They defend traditions not because they're just, but because they're known. The unknown, it terrifies us. So when you come along, questioning, probing, challenging, you're not just presenting a new idea. You're threatening the foundation, not intentionally, but fundamentally. And what happens when people feel their foundations shake? They shut down, they lash out, they exile the one who caused the tremor. This is why prophets were stoned, why philosophers were silenced, why innovators were imprisoned. Not because they were wrong, but because they saw too much. Plato told us this in his allegory of the cave, that those who return to tell others about the world outside the shadows are not welcomed as saviors. They are rejected as madmen. Because truth isn't always beautiful. Clarity doesn't always comfort. It strips away illusions. It breaks down narratives. And with nothing left to hold on to, people feel exposed. So the world builds walls, and thinkers, by their very nature, live on the other side of them. It's not just society, it's in the brain. Studies in neuroscience show that when people's core beliefs are challenged, the same areas light up as if they're under physical attack. The amygdala, our fear center, reacts defensively. This means an idea can feel as threatening as a punch, not because it is, but because it pierces the identity. So, what do people do? They turn away, they dismiss, they mock, they isolate the source of discomfort. And if you're that source, you begin to feel like a stranger in your own tribe. This is the quiet suffering of the observer, not because you know more, but because you see more. You see the layers behind the laughter, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the fear behind the aggression. You watch people cling to titles, trends, and illusions, hoping they'll find meaning, and knowing, deep down, they won't. It's not that you think you're better. It's that you wish they could see what you see. not for your sake, Momo, but for theirs. But you learn that insight doesn't always lead to connection, that truth isn't always welcome, that sometimes the clearer your lens, the more distorted you seem to those who've never cleaned theirs. And yet, there's a strange beauty in this solitude, a sacred stillness. Because while you may feel alone in a room full of people, you are never truly alone in history. The great minds who walked before you felt this too. Rumi, who wrote of longing for a home he couldn't name. Kafka, who lived like a ghost among the living. Simone Weil, who starved her body to feed her soul. They weren't trying to be understood, they were trying to stay awake. And sometimes, staying awake means walking alone. But alone doesn't mean empty. It means space. It means freedom. It means you're no longer confined to the noise. Because once you embrace the solitude, you realize this is where the real growth happens, where thoughts deepen, where your voice gets clearer, where your soul finally has room to breathe. You stop seeking validation. You start seeking alignment, not with others, but with truth. You stop trying to fit in. You start trying to feel real. And in that authenticity, something incredible happens. You attract others who see the world in quiet, careful ways. They find you, not in crowds, but in corners, not in trends, but in timeless things. And slowly, the loneliness shifts. It doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It becomes the solitude of the monk, not the exile of the outcast, the stillness of the deep sea, not the emptiness of a void. Because seeing clearly isn't a curse, it's a calling. And though the road is narrow, you do not walk it alone. There are others, scattered across the world, reading strange books, watching stars, writing thoughts they'll never post. People who feel too much, think too much, and speak only when it matters. This video, maybe it found you for a reason. Maybe you're not as alone as you think. If this spoke to something in you, don't rush away. Stay, breathe, and know this: your clarity is your gift. And the world may not understand it, but somewhere, someone will. Let me know in the comments. Have you ever felt the loneliness of seeing clearly? How do you cope with it? Let's build a space for minds that don't fit the mold. And if you're seeking more depth in a surface-level world, subscribe. This channel is for you. We're not here to escape the noise. We're here to understand it and rise above it together.